All right, this is our interview with Allen Bellman. I am Geek Jason.
I'm Geek Ed.
Geek Adam.
And we apologize, we had some technical difficulties, so some of the recording is going to be audio only. But that'll just give us an opportunity to show you more of Mr. Bellman's art. Right? Because he's an artist.
Because we have an IT guy that helps us out with this stuff.
Don't start with me.
Well, I saw an ad in the New York Times. I was all of 18 years old, and they wanted an artist to do backgrounds for Captain America, and it was Columbus Day. And I said to my dad, I'll go tomorrow. It's a holiday. They're probably closed. Being 18 years, I was still wet behind the ears, and I don't know what it was, but he insisted I go, and make a long story short, we went back and forth. I went and got the job within 10, 15 minutes. Don Rico, who's doing Young Allies, came out, took my work into the office. It was the McGraw-Hill building in New York City. And he came back in a short time and said, "You're hired, report Monday."
Wow. So you're hired, report Monday. Wow.
And so he didn't really interview you or anything? He just looked at your work and that was it?
Well, I don't know what else I could say to that. I mean, I was quite elated about it because I always wanted to draw, and what can I tell you? It's my expression of my feelings, and even as a child, I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, anything open or white, I drew on, I mean, it's just something that was within me.
So, could you tell us a little bit about how it first started off? Like when you reported on Monday, what was your experience like? How did it start off?
Well, I reported on Monday, and Don Rico introduced me to all the members, but there was a heaviness in the air in that room. Sid Shores and Vince Alacia were doing Captain America after Kirby and Simon left for DC. And somehow, to make a long story short, it seems Don Rico was somewhat missed at the fact that he didn't get the assignment to do Captain America.
Oh.
But he was doing Young Allies. But there was a Don Rico and his gang and Sid Shores and Vince Alacia was on one side. You just could feel it in the air. I mean, but being a newcomer, neutral, how to keep my nose clean and stay in the middle.
So, Mr. Bellman, this is Ed. When you said you started drawing when you were young and it was an expression of your feelings and such, what kind of things did you like to draw when you were young?
Well, try to explain something that you don't know how to explain. It's just something in you. In other words, I had a pencil in my hand, and I had to say, let's say I opened up a book, the white cover inside, and I drew a picture. Why? I can't explain it. But then again, it's something that was telling me to draw. And that's what I did.
Okay. Well, let's play detective. What can you tell us about that story? How it came about, how you got involved with it.
Could you repeat that again?
Sure. Let's play detective.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I created Let's Play Detective. It was something that I did, some on staff and some at home. It was a freelance, which I was paid extra. And, crime stories is always popular. And, again, there was something there that you played with. And I always wanted to call Marvel and say, hey, how about putting, they reprinted Let's Play Detectives in hardcover books and in the magazines today. And I thought it might even make it.
When did they republish those?
Well, recently, in the hard-covered books and some of the magazines, I don't even look for them, but they do it, and I'm really gratified over that. But I would like to see Disney. Disney had purchased Marvel Comics. They bought Marvel Comics, and I would like to see a TV program, Let's Play Detective, where the whole family can sit around and try to solve the mystery.
That would be awesome.
Without any bad words or, blood. What can I tell you?
So,
I wrote it, penciled and inked. Let's Play Detective. And the favorite character was Mike Trapp and his assistant, Pepper Burns. Kind of play on words there.
yeah, that's cool. So how many other countries have you drawn in besides the U.S.?
Well, we have a very bad connection. Could you repeat that, please?
How many other countries have you gotten to draw for? I've read some other places that you got to draw for, companies and stuff out of Japan and other countries.
Well, that's hard for me to say. In other words, are you asking me if that's been reproduced in other countries? Is that it?
No, I mean, I know you've drawn for Timely and, turned into Marvel, and I know there's other companies out there like DC, but I know there's some other foreign, outside the U.S. companies that I've heard that you got to draw for, and we were just wondering, what else you've done outside of the U.S. circuit.
Well, I've done work for Lev Gleason Publications.
Oh, okay.
That they gave up the staff, and when it came my turn to go, I went down to Lev Gleason and got a job right away. No problem working for Bob Wood and Charlie Biro. And there's an interesting story about Bob Wood, who was the greatest guy to work for. But he had... what was that?
Oh, no, nothing. Keep going. We're listening.
Well, anyway, Bob Wood had murdered a woman in a hotel room. And he was a great guy to work for, but he'd come in, let's say, every Monday, with a shiner. Or I understand he had a drinking problem, got into fights, and had a bad temper. But when I worked for him, he was a kind, soft-spoken gentleman. It's a sad story, too long to go into.
Wow. That's wow.
Well, he the ending of the story was he got out of jail after a few years and wound up working as a short order cook in a diner in New Jersey, and I guess he had some interplay with the mob, and he was killed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very sad.
Yeah, it's a man living in, he had a nice penthouse apartment. He had the artist there coming up to his place. And it's really sad of the ending of a man who really was held in high esteem in the comic book business.
So, speaking of the comic book business, are there any artists or anything you looked up to when you first started?
Yeah, I was a good friend of Sid Short's, who was doing Captain America. And there was another artist there called Tom Tomash. Man, he was good. He was so good that later in life he wrote a book on anatomy. And he was sort of my mentor. His real name was Elmer Tom Tomash, but he's gone, but he stood over me and he corrected my work. I was a green kid, and he knew his anatomy, and he passed on his knowledge to me.
Question to that: when you look at art by other comic book artists, what's the first thing you look at to determine professionally if you think they're good at what they do, or if they're still learning, that kind of a thing?
What took you so long to ask that question? Because I have an answer for you. Work that is done today is beautiful. Beautiful. Just these guys are really, really good artists. We were green. But these artists are, they say, well, they use a computer. But someone has to do it originally. And the work that you see today, but yet there's a great people in demand. They love the comics of yesteryear, the 40s, the 30s, the 50s, 60s. And that's why I'm called back to, I did about 14 conventions this year, and I have, God willing, 11 lined up for next year.
Wow.
So, they like what I do, and they make me so happy. When a fan says to me, I made him happy with my work, it means more than money, really and truly and honestly.
Wow. So is there a favorite project or character that you have that you've done or somebody else has done?
No, I've worked on Human Torch, Submariner, war stories, crime stories, cowboys. I loved the cowboys, but I hated to do horses. And used to fake dust under the leg. That's the hard part, and used to put a lot of dust. But I look at my old horses, and I said, gee, I done a pretty good job. I look at them, and I'm amazed at what I did, because when I drew a horse, I had to get reference. I wanted to see how a horse looked. And I'm very happy what I did with my Western stories.
Now, and I'm sure that this is you've probably been asked this before, and you probably didn't, but I want to ask, when you were working for Timely, did you ever think that Timely would get so big, change into Marvel, just be so popular as it is 75 years later?
No, never. And Stan Lee never realized it himself. I work with Stan Lee, and to think, I'm 90. Getting to 90 wasn't easy either, But the fact that, you talk about age. Kids come around, and they stay about 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and they look at my work. And I have prints as low as $15. And, when a kid says to me, when I say kid, maybe a young teenager, he says, it looks at me straight in the eye, and says, I got to think about it. And I look back at him and I say, young man, I don't have time to think about it. So, I add humor into my life, because if I lose that, I lose everything. I add humor to I do lectures. I've lectured at Nova University, conventions, and what can I say? Even like the Wall Street Journal gave me a write-up where they asked me a question like, do you still have the first copy of Superman, Action Comics? I say, would I be sitting here if I did? And it brought down the house, and there was a reporter from the Wall Street Journal who picked it up and wrote about it. And when they say to me that in an open interview, we want to hear more stories, it gratifies me that I can make people happy with my art, with my conversations. I talk to the artists. I talk to the fans. I look them straight in the eye. I don't look up and I don't look down. I look straight at them. And I treat them the way I want to be treated. Because I remember as a young man, I was idolizing Milton Caniff, who did a comic strip called Terry and the Pirates. And I wasn't alone. Excuse me. I wasn't alone. He was the godfather of all comic artists, and what can I say? He had an inspiration to many of us.
I know Adam and I got a chance to meet you at Comic-Con in San Diego this past couple months ago, and after talking to you, I remember Adam and I both saying pretty much what you just said. Like, it was such a pleasure to talk to you. You were so down to earth. You indulged us and the other people that were there. You answered questions. You listened. It was a refreshing difference from, and no offense to other artists, but there are a lot of artists out there that are quote unquote famous, and you'd have to pay just to talk to them for 5 minutes. And I remember I got a signed picture from you of Captain America, punching out Hitler, and I brought that home and I showed it to my son, who's a huge Captain America fan, and he's 6, and he thought it was the coolest thing that I met you, and ever since I took him to another Comic-Con, and he's been collecting art, and he's got Captain America all over his walls, and it was really cool to be able to tell him that I met you and that you indulged me for 15 minutes solid. I didn't feel rushed. There were other people there, and that, to me, that is a big, big, big thing to run into, and it's pretty rare, unfortunately.
You're gonna make me cry, man.
Well, I don't mean to do that, but it was. I tell people and in fact, someone just asked me today, what was the highlight of Comic-Con? And I got to meet Buzz Aldrin, and I got to do all these wonderful things. But you're right up there at the top of my list, just because, yes, you're famous. Yes, you've done incredible things. But to be able to talk to you like a person and not feel rushed or feel like I shouldn't be there was great. It was incredible.
Well, I'm giving back what is being given to me now. I am really, really, how do I put this? Happy to have people care about me, and I care about people. I can hear things about people I don't even know, and I just could cry sometimes inside. But, this country right now is in kind of like, I never seen it before, like I see it now, and I want to reach out and cry out, and I'm only one speck here, in this country, in this world, and it's I've never, seen anything like this where things have changed. It's just not the same USA that I had grown up to see.
There's a quote.
Well, let's not get into politics.
No, we won't. There's a quote in the Captain America movie where Captain America looks at what the one guy and says and talks about the uniform, and he goes, "Really? Do you think this is the type of uniform that we ought to be bringing back?" And the guy turns back and says, "I think this is exactly what the country needs right now, the red, white, and blue." And I was going to ask you, what do you think is it about Captain America that appeals to kids and adults alike? What do you think the draw is for that?
Well, I'm trying to understand what you said right now. Well, as I said, we don't have a good phone connection. Could you kind of repeat that?
Sure. What do you think specifically about Captain America appeals to both kids and adults alike? So what's the draw?
Oh, all right. We were invited to the first Captain America movie in L.A., and really, I was in awe. I was floating. We were seated in the back row. It was elevated. And I got to tell this story to you. And an elderly gentleman, my peers, approached me, and he said to me, "I'm Chris Evans' grandfather." He says, "You look important." And without even realizing, I said, "That's because I am important." But that's not me, and he walked away. So, I often felt pretty bad about that, but at San Diego, I was on stage at the Marvel, and I was speaking to Chris Evans, who was on stage, and I told him the incident. I says, "Please apologize to your grandfather for me. This is not like me. I was just caught off guard, So what can I say,
Well, you are pretty important, so I guess it's okay.
Mr. Bellman, keeping on topic with the films, what did you think the Captain America films? The first Avenger and the Winter Soldier. What was your impression?
They were beautifully done. You see, since Disney took over Marvel, they have been making a better movie. Now, I found the Captain America movie, of course, it really followed and didn't follow the comic strip, because Hollywood always has to upgrade. I would have liked to see him in that old flannel uniform, but they gave him protection and plastic and headgear, but so be it, because it was still an entertaining movie. It was a good movie, and both of them were superb. But funny, when I was in Hollywood watching the movie at the El Capitan Theater, I really didn't see the movie. It was, I was so, let's say I was at Disneyland, so, but it's just amazing that I'm here and to be, and to see all these things, and I really say I am a believer. I do believe in God, and I'm not a holy roller. I'm not a preacher. But to be here, to speak to guys like yourself, and the way you compliment me, and I say from the bottom of my heart, bless you all. Thank you.
Well, I know we return the thanks, because it's just as uplifting and pleasing to us to be able to reciprocate and talk to you, and as fans, that's pretty satisfying to us. So
yeah, it's pretty interesting. I thought the how they portrayed the legacy of Captain America in the films, I thought it was really interesting. How they kept Captain America true to God, true to American values, and true to the uniform. I thought that reached all the way back to the golden era of comics. I thought to present day. I thought it combined all the heart and soul, of artists and story writers throughout this generations. I don't know. I was really pleased to see. How they brought everything together. And yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, they've done a good job. When we watch the movie, and I watch all the effects. And I say to myself, it's just amazing. And yet, it could be shot in a little studio with background, and the effects are so good. It just phases you off the seat. The noise, the sound is wow. That adds to the excitement of the movie. They keep a fast pace. It doesn't slow down. It keeps going, keeps going, keeps going.
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And it's just marvelous. I met the president of Marvel Films, Kevin Feige, and after the first movie, at a party after the movie, I said to him, "You made the Red Skull too beautiful. I drew him with little pinball eyes in a socket and crooked teeth. You made him look like a beautiful set of teeth." But then again, who can argue with success?
So switching from the movies, a little bit back more to you, I know that I read somewhere that you'd only recently, in the past few years, maybe 6 or 7 years, got into the Comic-Con circuit. What got you into that? What drew you into that now?
What brought me back to the comic book conventions? Was that it?
Yeah.
Well, there's a gentleman that I have to give credit who brought me back, and that's a dentist in New York City, a Dr. Michael Vasallo. He called me and said, "Are you the Allen Bellman that worked for Marvel or Timely Marvel?" I said, "Yeah, how'd you find me?" It seems that I have a niece in New York who knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody. So, I have to give credit to these people for bringing me back. And it was a wonderful thing they've done, because I think they've added years to my life, because I have to draw. Not for the money so much, I have to draw. And they're keeping me busy and happy.
So,
But
in being busy, are you working on any new projects?
well, I'm always drawing. I've got a Spider-Man to do, and a Captain America and Daredevil on one. I always manage, you know. When I draw, I get into it, and I'm in another land, you know, another world when I'm drawing. I put on my old Pandora music of the World War II music, and I can't draw in silence. I have to have a music in the background.
I know how that is. I can't work in silence either. I've got to have headphones on listening to something.
Yeah, but you young guys with your music today, I mean, come on, guy. Can you remember the tune?
I like to reach back to, you know, I mean, even listen to some, you know, some big band and jazz, you know, from back in the 30s and 40s.
When I'm working, I listen to classical guitar. That's my thing.
I listen to everything. I listen to classical. Andre Roux, I believe his name. It's beautiful classical music. Jazz, Benny Goodman, and you go back and the quintets, the quartets, and just music in general is beautiful. But not today's music. I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize, because I think the three of us sitting here have very eclectic music taste, so we can probably appreciate what you're saying. I know if you walk into my living room right now or my dining room, I have a record player in the corner with a stack of records that I get from the Salvation Army and yard sales, and that's the music that my whole family, including my kids, listen to. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah, music is a beautiful, beautiful thing. I mean, you could just listen, and whether it's classical or classical jazz, or the World War II music was music of beauty because it often spoke of broken romance, Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree, the Andrews Sisters. I mean, I can go on, but I listen to that. I subscribe to Pandora music, so there's no commercials. And when I draw or even I walk, I love to have music, you know.
So with the holidays being here, do you have a favorite Christmas movie?
Pardon?
With the holidays here, do you have a favorite Christmas movie that you like to watch every year?
You know, it's so hard for me to understand what you said. Please, I apologize, but could you repeat that?
No, it's no problem. We were wondering if you had a favorite Christmas movie that you watch or a holiday movie that you watch.
Oh, well, that's the old movie Miracle on 34th Street. And It's a Wonderful Life with James Stewart. These are movies that go back. You weren't even born, probably.
No, but I know the movies, and I own them.
No, those are movies from 30s and 40s, you know, and I think a lot about the war movies, you know, and they've done a good job, and I understand that I'm going to be given a medal, which has been approved by the Senate, our United States Senate, along with some others, for it's sort of a civilian medal for drawing for the soldiers and sailors and Marines in World War II.
Yeah, I read somewhere, in fact, I think it was today, that you were in the service for a short time and you did painting on some of the military vehicles, correct?
I've seen everything, man. What can I say?
I guess so. That's great. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. And, you know, it's a real joy talking to you guys. You know, it's you know, you make this old man feel good, but I feel great. I feel good. And I'm just thinking as I speak to you, my little wheels in my head are going around. How am I going to make this Spider-Man and Captain America and Devil? What the heck is that? Daredevil.
Daredevil.
Yeah. He's drawn so many different ways. I got to find a picture of him. And but the other guys I know, they're so easy, you know.
So looking back, did you ever think you'd end up doing the stuff that you've done and accomplished in your life now?
You mean doing it now? No, I couldn't do a full page anymore. I've done it. I don't know how, but I just rather draw for the fans. and they keep me out of trouble, and I keep me happy. And what can I say? You know, but God bless them, really, because without you guys, I don't know what I would be doing. I'd probably wind up in a rocking chair twiddling my thumbs.
Well, I'm glad
you
you're
know.
not.
Me too.
Yeah, Mr. Bellman, I have a question here for you, and you don't have to comment on it if you don't want to. I was just, we saw a Facebook post, and it kind of hit home to us, a little bit. It was a little discouraging to read what had happened at the recent New York Comic Con, and what happened with Marvel, and what happened with you during that event. Do you have any comments or anything that you'd like to mention? I mean, has it been made right? Have they?
Well, they sort of said to me that they were caught off guard. So many people came up and they said they were going to have me interviewed. I really could have really jazzed up that little movie they put on afterwards.
Yeah.
Which I didn't watch because I was really hurt, but I've got an angel there in the company that I correspond with, and he explained it to me, and I accepted it. Why be bitter, and I say Marvel does not owe me anything. What do I owe Marvel? And I'm hoping that when I go to San Diego again, that they will have me back on stage, because when I got on stage, I received a wonderful, wonderful greeting from the crowd, and I had a shield painted on my fingernail on my right hand. My wife's manicurist did that, the Captain America shield. And when I got on stage, I wanted to show them the shield, so I raised all 5 fingers up high. And the poor kids from Marvel, who they brought in from New York, their mouth opened up thinking I was giving the audience a finger, which was not not my intent at all, But they were laughing and cheering me on, and what can I say? And then I was speaking to Chris Evans and Mark Ruffalo, the actors, and I got to Samuel Jackson, and he says, "Hey, Samuel Jackson was taken out of camera phone, and he said, "How do you use this thing?" He said, "I want to take a picture of your fingernail," and he took a picture of my fingernail, So what can I say? It was pretty much, but these young kids from Marvel Comics, their mouth opened up, like, what did he do? What the crowd just took it goodly. I would never give anybody a finger.
No.
Here in Florida, where I live, you give anybody the finger, you could be killed,
Well, I can tell you one thing. I know that at least online, when we first read about Marvel kind of leaving you out of the recognition for the 75 years and stuff, especially since you were there that long ago, and I think it backfired on him, because there was a lot of people that spread that around like wildfire. And I hope that turns out to actually give you more recognition for the parts that you did play, and turns out to be a good thing in the end.
Well, I thank you very much for that, because I was there. I was there before Stan Lee became editor. Before he became editor, I was there.
Wow.
And the thing is, you get lost in the shuffle sometimes, why, I don't know, but Marvel does recognize me. In fact, have you seen that big giant book, 75 Years of Marvel?
I did.
The book weighs about a ton. I can't even lift it. And there's a nice picture of me on page 31 of when I worked for Marvel with 2 other guys that on the staff. I had forgotten about the picture, but Michael Vassallo, the dentist in New York City, bought this picture, and they put it in this book. It's an exclusive picture. Nowhere was it ever released. It was a long-lost picture. And if you get a hold of the book, look at page 31, I believe it's on. I can't even look through the book, because it's so big and so heavy, so it looks good on my bookshelf.
I'll definitely have to try to find that book. I mean, I did hear about it, and I know it was on Amazon, and that'll be.
Yeah, Amazon, I think, sold it for $115. I think it's a $200 book, but
wow.
It's well worth it for a fan. Why don't you all chip in and each one take a third of it, let's say,
Well, it'd be big enough, we probably wouldn't need to get through the whole thing, so.
But I've been recognized by many places, and I appreciate that. I don't try to burn the world down, There's a lot of people say to me, "You created Captain America." I says, "No. That honor belongs to Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. Bless their souls, because they created, and I will never take credit for something I never did. That would not be right."
Well, I think you can get enough credit for what you did do, which was a lot. So, is there anything else that you would like to share or anything like that?
Yes, a lot of young gentlemen and young ladies come to me, show me their work, and the first thing I see is that they are copying comic book characters, and I tell them bluntly, I don't want to look at it. Don't copy comic book characters. Learn how to draw. Go into the park, draw people, even get a tracing pad. Trace, you learn, yes, tracing pad. You can learn from tracing and learn how to draw. Go to school, but learn how to draw. Then become a cartoonist. Because by copying comic book characters, you will never learn the anatomy, the figure of. In other words, stay away from copying comic book characters.
That's some good advice. We've got to talk to some other artists in the past, and when we ask them, what's the advice that you have for aspiring artists or people thinking to get into that, that's really, I've heard that a lot. Try to be original. Try to expand your horizons. Don't try to stick to one thing. That's
right. If you copy Captain America or Superman, what are you doing? What are you accomplishing? It's learn how to draw an eye. I remember going when I went part-time to Pratt Institute, a very highly thought of school of art. And I remember they taught me how to draw an eye that's almond shape. A little almond the one way, going the opposite way, and then the eye, hide the eyeball, don't make it pop out. You've got to learn how to draw and then become a cartoonist.
That is some great advice.
And I like to say this. I usually end my lectures and such with this words. Let us be nice to one another. We cannot be everyone's friend, but let's try.
I like that. Thank you.
And
thank you for living up to that, too.
Well, I'm like I say, I'm trying to give back what has been given to me, and I'm happy doing this. And what can I say? And I like to thank certain people in my life who has helped me get here where I am today, and that is Michael Vasallo, the dentist who brought me back, Michael Uslan, the executive producer of Batman movies, Stan Lee, who kept me busy all the time, drawing, and so many other people, so hard to think about. Oh, yeah, Mike Broder, of Miami Comic-Con, who invited me to his every Comic-Con since he started in Florida, and Terry Cronin, a doctor in upstate Florida, for his encouragement. I mean, there's so many people. I could say thank you, you know, but I can't think of all of them. I'm happy I can remember what I had for breakfast. So I want to thank you guys, and I want to wish you all a happiest of all holidays, whatever your religion is, whatever your color is, it doesn't matter. So I say to you, stay well, keep the faith, and thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Okay, so how'd you guys think that went?
I was seriously, I mean, of course, you guys met him at Comic-Con, I didn't, so I was pretty impressed with just how appreciative he is of the fans and everything that's been, you know, been given to him, and he's been blessed with his whole life. It's amazing to see people that have been there still be that appreciative and that down to earth. So
He was really humbled.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it was a good description. Yeah, I thought his stories were really interesting. You know, I mean, just you know, kind of how the chips all kind of fell in a row, and how he just kept contributing to the.
I could have listened to him all night. Yeah, seriously, I could have kept asking him
the story about his father making him go that day is just phenomenal. You know, it's a holiday.
See, dads always know best.
The holiday, and you're still going to go. It's just amazing. And then he's got the job. You know.
Yep. So when my son watches this in 20 years, remember, Dad knows best, right? But you're not a dad, so you know.
Yeah,
He doesn't know that about it yet.
No, he's not that he knows. Yeah, I could have asked. I don't know. We'll have to ask him. We'll email him and ask him this question. But we have to ask him about what he thought about Mr. Stan Lee having cameos in every single Marvel release. Well, pretty much every single Marvel release he's been in. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any that he's missed.
It was Marvel Studios and Sony and Fox.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that'd be cool, especially since he was there before Stan Lee. Well, he said before he became editor and stuff.
Yeah.
So I wonder if he's got anything funny to say about that. He's probably got some really, really intense stories that he hasn't shared.
Oh,
Especially
talking about that guy that got arrested for murdering the woman in the hotel.
Oh yeah, who was
That
it?
he worked
Bob
for? Bob Wood.
Bob
that he worked
Wood.
for? It's just crazy.
That's
and then he worked.
nuts.
Oh, he's a kind man.
He's a kind man that got arrested for murder. That's crazy. Yeah. So that was a good interview, and if our IT guy would have got the camera working the whole time, it would have been great. But we don't have an IT guy.
No.
No, we got two.
Yeah, you got the same degree as I do, Adam. So.
Yeah.
Wait, didn't you expand on yours?
Yeah, I got
So this is all
more.
on your shoulders.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a great interview, and we'll hope I want to go see him again. Not that I'll look for Comic-Con again.
He said what? 11? He's got 11 that he's got scheduled so far this year for coming 2015.
Yeah, 11 cons.
Wow.
That's a lot.
And he did 14. That's more than one in a month. That's crazy.
I got back from San Diego and pretty much slept for 4 days. I don't know how you could do that.
I got back from San Diego and tried to recover from my poison oak outbreak.
How'd you get into poison?
I have pictures.
Story.
I do have pictures,
Don't
and
know.
someday I will post them.
Yeah, they were pretty horrible.
They were.
Poison oak is some nasty stuff.
I found out a lot
Probably
about baking
sensitive.
soda paste and rubbing it on other men. Not really, but.
On that note, he gets out of here.
All right, see y'all later.